It's Sovereign Minds, the podcast. Only today, again, it's the interview. You got to remember, keep an eye on her. She's a loose cannon over there.
I am. Be careful.
It's January 30th, 2026. I almost said 2025. I'm still catching up to that one. This would be the second or third podcast of 2026. We're down here at the Epicenter of Freedom and at Mountaintop Media.
We are.
And we have a special guest today. We've got a VIP from the ROV, and we're trying to keep it on the QT, but I don't know. There's probably some other three letters we could go with, but we'll
Well, he's an ROV. I guess we can't do three letters for county clerk.
CLK. I don't know.
Okay, moving right along. Boom.
Well, let's talk about the FBI.
Okay.
That's on the QT.
So we've got Clint Curtis in here. He's the Shasta County currently serving as our ROV. We're Register of Voters, I guess is what that stands for.
County clerk, too.
I don't know why I never heard Register of Voters till I went to Shasta County. So I don't know if that's specific here or what.
Yeah, but they usually go by county clerk, and I don't know what makes the difference.
It's a California thing.
Is it?
Most states call it the supervisor of elections.
Ah.
Really?
So you're in charge of elections.
In charge of elections.
And that would make you the supervisor.
Correct.
And marriages. Don't forget, he's in charge of marriages, too.
Right.
You marry people?
We marry people.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Do passports and...
Oh, wow. Okay. There's a bunch of stuff going on there. All right, so we got this clip because we're going to be talking about elections in the office over there and what's going on at the ROV office, and I wanted to play this
or
because
what isn't going on,
because the scuttlebutt is that elections are always fair. I mean, just listen to the left; all the elections have been fair until they lost. But now we've got the FBI raiding the Georgia Fulton County Elections Office, where they've admitted already that they manufactured 315,000 votes out of thin air, and Trump lost by 10,000, and then they almost prosecuted him for asking, hey, gee, isn't there any more votes over there to count, basically?
Well, and it's been a problem since 2020. They've been saying, oh, no, that never happened.
Well, that's exactly right, but that's what they're going after, the 2020 election. So that's on the table.
So for almost 6 years, we've heard, no, there's nothing going on here, but
and we want to address this. So let's just pay the first 2 minutes less, and let's go from there, and then we'll let Clint have the floor and get a rebuttal to this.
Okay.
Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch. Sir, you guys have been on this for years, but anybody who raised an eyebrow about it got indicted, sued, whatever. Here we are.
That's right. The president almost went to jail for raising the questions that have now been validated by a federal magistrate. Well, the reason this search warrant was approved was because a federal magistrate looked at the facts and made the conclusion that there was a reasonable belief a crime had taken place, a crime related to the retention of the documents that you've talked about and those commissioners were talking about, but also specifically election crimes. So now we have a federal magistrate confirming that people can have a reasonable belief that crimes took place in Georgia, specifically in Fulton County. None of those issues, by the way, many of which have been raised by President Trump initially in 2020, were ever adjudicated by any state court judge in Georgia. They sued. They said, well, we're going to appoint a judge to review these questions. And they stalled on appointing a judge. And by the time January 6th came along, it was too late. They dropped the case since, the president had been installed. President Biden had been installed by that time. Right. Through the January 6th process. So this is confirmation and vindication for President Trump that something happened. The left has been telling us 60 cases have been thrown out, none of which have been fully adjudicated or fairly adjudicated.
Well, they were all thrown out. Hey, that's the thing, Tom, not to interrupt you, but all those cases that were thrown out on standing because nobody wanted to admit that it was in their jurisdiction so they wouldn't have to argue the facts.
That's right. And if you sued too soon, it was too soon. If you sued too close, it was too close. If you sued afterwards, it was too late. And
yeah, so
I'd say that pretty much sums it up, doesn't it?
So
And that
I wanted
concludes
to-
that chapter.
I wanted to bring that up because I kept hearing over and over and over from the leftoids that it's already been tried in the courts, but no evidence was ever presented, was it?
No evidence was ever presented. No depositions were ever able to be taken. No discovery was granted. I was chatting with a lot of the attorneys for Trump at the time, and they were saying, "Get ready, we're going to get this source code. We want you to come and look at it," because I'm a geek, right? I can do
Right.
that sort of thing. So I could go in there and look at it and then tell them what's going on. And they kept saying, "We're going to get this," and I go, "Good luck. I've never seen it happen in 20 years," and it didn't. They just get stalled, pushed down. And that was the whole hubbub over January 6th. People wondered, why did January 6th happen?
Right.
Right.
Because January 6th happens because once you certify, it's all over. It doesn't matter what you find after that.
And they would have brought up all these things as far as to challenge the election and have some of this examined. And that's why January 6th was so important to gin up this whole insurrection garbage,
Right.
because that's exactly what it was. Complete garbage. If, you go to an insurrection without any guns and a bunch of people dressed up in shaman outfits. I mean, come on.
And stage things.
There were some strange things going on, you must admit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The horned outfits and, people were not necessarily behave themselves.
Sure.
But the whole purpose was to stop the certification, which I think they could. It's now all ministerial. In fact, that's what California's hanging its hat on. If I don't certify an election, they'll certify it for me. They passed a law that it doesn't matter anymore. If the county board doesn't supervise, doesn't actually certify, doesn't matter. They can certify it
Right.
for us.
Yeah, that
Well,
is such baloney.
And the fact that they had 240 or whatever FBI agents out in the crowd ginning things up, that's a kind of a non-issue too.
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah.
And we found out they paid a lot of people by bus, brought them in by bus to do their thing too.
So, moving on, let's get local here because
Okay.
that's where you're at, is local. And,
Well, I'm sorry. My
ahead.
biggest thing is right now, I got it clarified actually last night about the voter rolls. I don't think people are really clear about the process of how the voter rolls, I take it in California compared to other places. That
They're all bad now.
Well, I'm not saying they're good,
Right.
But that the state oversees our voter rolls,
Right.
So people think, oh well, the ROV or the county clerk isn't doing their job because the rolls aren't being cleaned. Can you address that and clarify exactly how that process works?
Sure. HAVA, Help America Vote Act, or I call it Vote for America Act, because that's exactly what happened after that, established that the states have to maintain the voter rolls. So all of that got stripped away from the counties, went to the state under the theory that they would be able to do a better job because they could then see movement and all that. Well, they could do a better job, maybe if they wanted to, but they can also do a terrible job.
Well, they took
After
but they
everybody
took away
traveled.
the local control is what
and
they
that
did.
is a trade-off. So we send out the information. We tell them, we get death certificates. We send it in. We get people who are no longer at the address. We send that in. And that's all we really can do because we no longer have access to the rolls.
So you can't purge the voter rolls anymore.
No, we can't touch them because it doesn't matter what we do on our end. It goes into this one program called VoteCal, which they control, and they can do anything they want.
And they
to
refuse to send the voter rolls to the federal government.
Isn't that strange?
I know it's a real
Wow.
but Newscom's been doing a stellar job down there in SAC. I mean, everything he touches seems to be okay.
Right. Yeah, he's real good at it.
No.
What we are going to do to address that, though, because we're not completely helpless,
Right.
because we now have a federal government that cares, which they didn't want. They didn't used
didn't
to. They
care
didn't ask.
before,
They didn't
yeah.
want to. Right.
Yeah.
They were fine with it being the way it is. But now the government cares. So what we're going to do is we're going to take actual snapshots of the voter rolls once a week and also log what we are suggesting that happens to those voter rolls. And we're going to keep that stored. So the DOJ could then come in and get all that, and they'll know that Fred should have came off in January, and he's still alive in September.
Well, I've personally seen it happen with my own son. He moved to South Dakota, and I called up Kathy Darlin Allen and said, "Hey, he doesn't live here anymore. He's in South Dakota." And well, we didn't do that. Of course there was an excuse, but
Well, you didn't fill out the form you were supposed to fill out, or he didn't fill out the form to get him removed, correct? There's actually a form that nobody fills out.
Well, we are supposed to fill it out and send it in.
right.
So she didn't fill out the form.
Right.
She could have done the card, fill it out, send it in. Now, that doesn't mean they can't kick it back on. We've had instances where people are dead, right? They have died. We have the death certificate. The next of kin comes in and tells us about
Well,
it.
it sounds like they're just using that to get more ballots.
You can get more ballots because if that name stays, then they get to use it. And that's why you end up with more votes than voters. Because if you don't have the ballots, you don't have a voter.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you can't generate, if you're using computers, generate a vote to sit on top
Well,
of
just
it.
because you have the
It
ballots
does.
doesn't mean you have voters either.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the person that died. Now, this is interesting. Even if they have the death certificate and tell them to remove from the ballots, they don't remove them.
They do not remove them.
They
mark
make them.
inactive, which you are inactive once you're dead.
Wow.
You actually are.
But you can be activated again.
Yes, but if someone comes in and votes
is
for that
insane.
person within 2 cycles, and we've had people that have been dead for 10 years that are still in the voter rolls.
Well, we heard about the guys that were voting that were 150, 200 years old in the last election.
That's pretty good dedication.
Yeah, I mean, they're really staunch patriots.
They have a good diet.
Well, some of that actually has some logic to it. Before 1979, I believe, in California, not in a lot of states, but in California, they did not record your birth date. So when they had to backfill those, they made up a birth date. So that's where a lot of that came from. But instead of fixing it and saying, voter, what's your birthday?
We'll just make it up.
They just make it up and have this little fake birthday sitting there.
Sounds like the IRS on income.
Right. Exactly.
So,
Sounds like the court system, what I went through with jury duty. They have me, my birth date is totally incorrect on one of the jury duty notices. I was getting 2. And one had a birth date
and
that
I
was
think
nowhere near mine.
That connects you to a voting roll
Yep,
too, doesn't it?
it's actually connected to voter
It's connected
rolls.
to a voter roll. So she's
Yep.
actually in there twice.
Yep.
One she can vote, and one somebody else can vote for
Well,
her.
I knew there was a fox in the hen house when she started voting Democrat and Republican.
Yeah, sure. That's it.
Did you actually vote Republican, or did that one count?
Not in Shasta County. And that's why the federal government is suing all of the blue states right now to get these voter rolls, and they're refusing to give them but if they could clean the voter rolls up, get voter ID and proof of citizenship, and I think the Democrats are kind of generally angry at this point because the voting bloc is being deported.
Unfortunately, that's probably true. And
In more ways than one.
and if people have voted and they're not a citizen, that is a deportable offense.
It's also a
Top of the line.
I believe that's a felony as well.
Not only that, but it won't matter because they're heading back to wherever. So
Well, I mean, I guess you can't really.
they won't need jail time.
They don't need to be in jail in Somalia. Just being in Somalia is
Right.
worse than
Just
prison,
move 'em on
probably.
out.
Yeah, as long as we don't let them back across the border, it's all good.
Right. So, but that's actually a deportable offense. And people down in Orange County ran into that problem because they had a whole bunch of people that voted, and the feds got to them and said, why did these people vote? We're showing them as not being legal aliens. And the people in Orange County wrote back and say, well, they are now. They've naturalized, so it's okay. Except that voids your naturalization and gets you deported.
Well,
So it's the
but
worst
is
thing
there,
they could have done to them.
is there any enforcement in California of that?
I don't think so. There will be, ICE probably showed
Maybe
up to their address and
shortly.
say, welcome, new citizen, you're about to be deported.
So that the voter rolls make me think that's why we ended up having somebody elected as a Democrat in Shasta County when we have more Republican voters.
Well, it's 68%.
It totally makes sense if you keep adding them back on.
And
You
Well, then
know?
let's address that. How do we know that there's not, because we had more voters than we had votes.
Yeah.
Or more votes than we had voters in the last election.
Not in the last election.
Oh, and that was the one
The
before
one
that.
before.
The one I did had the same number of voters that we had votes. Isn't that crazy?
That is
who
totally
knew?
crazy. Who knew that could actually happen?
Wow, that's almost like a fair election almost.
I know. What's with it? Well,
we're-
part of it, we got rid of the poll pads. Poll pads make people lazy because they can check them in electronically.
Right.
And then they're connected to the internet, so they go back and forth. But there's a lot of instances where people have seen the poll pad numbers crawl even though no one's voting. So that's a
Right.
problem. The other problem is you can't balance it because if it tells you 700 people voted and only 400 did, there's no way to get back.
Right.
So you're going to have to report that 700 voted
Oh,
even though they didn't.
gotcha.
Then,
Right.
then what? Who's going to enforce it? Rob Bonta or somebody down in Sacramento?
Nobody.
That's the problem. They don't. It's like we got such a corrupt administration in Sacramento, and a super majority of Democrats. They don't care who, if anything gets fixed at this point, as long as they stay in power.
I think it's kind of become that way.
Yeah.
Which is kind of surprising, you know.
Yeah, sure it is.
15 years ago, it was the Democrats that were yelling about the
Well,
election.
that's true. That's true.
exactly.
Yeah.
because-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Crazy.
true.
So the word on the street is that that you're already recording all this stuff. Is that true inside
That the
this?
machines-
The machines are already taking pictures of everything.
Never been true in Shasta County. They do have a way to turn on ballot images, but ballot images are worthless because basically you're asking the computer that's counting the vote to take a picture of that ballot. And that's not real. As a programmer, nothing goes on inside that computer that I don't make.
So you could Photoshop it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's a little, not exactly photoshopping, you know, there's a little more to it.
Well, it's vote shopping, sort of like Photoshopping.
Exactly.
You can make it be whatever you want it to be.
It'll be whatever I want to be. I can change every vote in there. I can make the image look perfect. I can do anything I want to do. I can even take bubbles from somebody else's image, store those in
How
my
would
head,
you do?
and
How
drop
would
them in
you?
there.
Wow,
How would
that's
you
scary.
Realistically,
Yeah.
how would you do that without getting caught and someone questioning that?
Because they don't check anything. In fact, in Shasta County, before I got here, they were actually allowing the computer to pick the precincts they were going to do the 1% manual audit on.
And they wouldn't let anybody observe the process either.
No.
So the pictures, she said there's cameras or something in there. There's no cameras at all in there that are taking any pictures.
She shows a complete understanding of anything. I don't even think she's trying to understand.
We're
it.
talking about Joanna, I'm
Yes.
assuming. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Has no understanding of the process. We had to fix something that she'd been blowing off for the last 4 or 5 years today.
Really?
There's a filing that goes into the newspaper, and you're supposed to tell it's the candidates.
So
and
she's not the evil genius at the heart of the matter then.
she's not very bright. Let's put that
So
was trying to be
because
kind.
she's been,
Qualifications are required to go with those names,
Right.
and have been since 1997, and it was never done in Shasta County.
wow. So that the things that people are saying when we're out on the street and stuff that, you know, because she had worked there so long that you should promote within the company isn't always such a good idea, and that's why she's no longer probably there. But you know,
Right. She did not meet my expectations.
Really?
it wasn't just because you walked in and didn't like her.
Well, I thought that she knew everything there was to know down there because she was Kathy's protege.
Well, I think they knew how to set up an election so it could be stuffed in the front, not observed, and then counted any way they wanted to in the back.
So
When they needed to.
So you've observed some illegal activity and have you reported that or something? I heard something whistling in the wind about, somebody actually committing a crime. Can you elaborate?
We reported to the DOJ. Essentially what they had done is they didn't seal any of the ballots. They would open them up, put them in these little blue bins, roll them around the building, no chain of custody, right? In an elevator, carry them upstairs, wherever they wanted to go.
Sounds like DeKalb County and Fulton County in Georgia.
Exactly. It's exactly the same process
Yeah.
where they go wherever they want to do, except this was actually worse.
I was watching some video where the one person that told everybody to go home, all of a sudden she pulls out like 4 or 5 cases of ballots, and then they start counting them, running them through the machine over and over again.
Well, they were missing a few. They just had to make up a little.
Yeah, with the same ones.
But we had
The same one.
Yeah, we
well, they
kind of
didn't
had
have
that.
any more. They had to cheat. How are you
Yeah.
going to cheat?
We kind of had that in Shasta County. Remember, there was stuff that happened in the middle of the night. with the voting stuff?
Well, we got reports. I mean, there's
Yeah.
nothing that I could verify because I wasn't
but the
there.
timestamps changed, and there was all kinds of weird things that
but
happened in the middle
I
of the
don't-
night.
Do you know anything about that? That was her name's escaping me right now. You know who I'm talking about.
Laura?
Laura Hobbs, thank you.
Oh.
She was saying that the timestamps were changing. Do you know anything about that at all? Is there anything that we should talk about?
Or can you talk to that? Or
I can.
but you won't at the moment.
Okay, never mind.
I can,
Okay.
even if you want to hear it. I got a call from several people because, I am like the world geek that knows this kind of stuff. So they called me and they asked me these things. And I said, well, the problem with your stamps isn't just that they're changing at 1 minute intervals. And a human cannot change things at 1 minute
So it had
intervals.
to be computer operated.
Computer-operated change.
So there's either a software program that's doing it, or somebody is doing it remotely, or I don't know, from a keyboard someplace.
Even if it's remote, it's got to be done through software because people will not be able to hit that minute mark 15 times
You
in a
have
row.
to program it into the software.
Right.
So-
Impossible to do it any other way.
Well, we just heard that. Was that Dominion, or who was that? That was 2020 here. Was that Dominion or
Dominion. Yeah,
It was Dominion.
They got rid of Dominion, and then Joanna and Kathy ran down to Sacramento and had
got
a
a law.
special election to force them to use these machines.
Yep.
Wow.
So much for the will of the people.
Well,
huh?
we know where
Yeah,
the
that
software
couldn't
was
go
being developed, right? Wasn't it Venezuela?
There was some developed in Venezuela. There was some in France. It's all over the place. I mean,
It was all over the place, but it ended up in Venezuela or something.
And Germany, I think, was one.
Germany had some. Right.
Yeah.
So
Which
we've
is
got-
interesting because Germany, it is their constitution. They do not allow machines to be used in their elections. But they will produce them for other people.
I was going to say, why not? If you guys want to use it, we'll give it to you at a price.
And I think we've already proven that those machines have been cheating on elections. I'm pretty sure there's some evidence to that, isn't there?
Well, recently, down in the last election, the one we had here that was perfect, down in Santa Clara County, they used the Dominion, what's it called? Democracy Suite. It's a nice name, though, right?
Yeah.
And the Democracy Suite was missing ballots on almost every count. Nobody said anything until a whistleblower turned it in with pictures. And suddenly they're having to go, well, we caught that and we fixed it. Well, they may have. They may not have. How did they catch it?
How do you fix it? You get rid of the, freaking machines is how you
rid of the
fix it.
machines.
Yeah, and they can be operated remotely.
Absolutely.
That's why they had the software going around the different countries, because the internet is last time I checked, it's the worldwide internet. So you could actually, in theory, cheat on an election in Shasta County, for example, while you were living in Spain.
Well, not anymore, because now we have all the ballots recorded on camera, on video, live streamed, and recorded before it ever touches the machine. And then we do it again after. Some people don't know why we're doing it after, but that's because that's a ballot of record and want to make sure it actually matches the two.
So if it doesn't match,
If it doesn't match, something happened in the machine. Somebody changed it. And that's what you have. You have your crime scene. You know before and after, and you have your middle piece. So we're running it like we're trying to develop a legal case to
so you would have to
indict
stop
people.
the counting at, like, right then.
For
if,
what?
If they didn't match.
Oh, it'd be done. You'd have to take the video as your official count. So you'd have to go to a hand count, take the video.
Okay.
You'd probably be bringing in the feds. They'd be searching over. It'd be messy, but we would have them. I was crossing my fingers we didn't get a perfect count. I was going, hey, we got them. Go ahead,
That's
mess
great.
me up. You know.
Well, that's what happened in that 2020
Excuse me.
election too. In the middle of the night, the machines all of a sudden jacked up and they can be programmed to where they. And I saw this the other day. They win by the exact same margin. All they have to do is win by enough to get the election. And it's funny that in about, I don't know how many they showed. I was watching a program on it the other night. Every one of them won by just that margin.
5149. That's what I programmed originally back in 2000. So, and the weirdest thing is people held that for many, many years. The 5149. You see that? We were never a 5149 state before I wrote that program a zillion years ago for that guy.
How does that work in Shasta County? We're like a 68-32.
If you're not paying attention, it works just fine.
It works just fine. And the problem with Shasta County is if you notice previous elections, you would have this huge jump in the beginning.
Right.
Yes.
And
always.
then someone would have to make up to try
Well,
and
because
win the election.
because most of the Republicans vote either on that day or front end, with the mail-in ballots, and then they got 30 days to figure out how much they need in order to win that election, because you're going to have such a different number on one side or the other on election day.
Well, that was the theory. But if you actually go through and you look at when people vote, Republicans and Democrats vote pretty much the same way every time.
Interesting.
You never get this spike. When you get a big spike in the front, that's usually front-loaded. That means that someone has taken ballots and stuffed them. And the way they had it set up in Shasta County, anybody and their dog could have done it, because they had all put them in a room, nothing sealed up. And then the key code to get in that room, there were hundreds of entries that were missing the names of the people that entered the room.
Oh, I just showed that somebody entered.
Yeah.
Oh.
But you don't know who. And the other door, which also has a key code, didn't have the right number of entries for how many times you would need to go into it. It's offset. So it means something's missing there too. I have invited the DOJ to come and examine
Which
this.
DOJ? The one down in Sacramento?
No, the U.S. DOJ.
You mean the federale one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right?
he's the Attorney General down in Sacramento. He's not the Department. I guess he is the Department of Justice, but what do they call the state one? A state
Attorney General.
is Attorney General. That's
Right.
what I thought. Yeah.
And they might be fine, they might not. I don't really know, but I know the people that seem to be interested, and so that's where I go.
Well,
And if they got here quick enough, they could use it to actually determine exactly what happened and if there were other ballots inserted. Because since they had that little overspray issue,
Oh, that
Yeah.
little overspray.
they could go to the ballots and find the circles. Circles are just like a signature. People will do it the same every time. They can find out how many ballots were the same. And if any of the duplicators, because you have to sign your initials for the duplication, have that same circle pattern, we not only would know
gotcha.
what happened, we'd know who did it. So I'm trying to get them to come down and say hi.
That's interesting because that's just like signature.
It's a
or
signature.
Writing. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Well,
That
we
is
can
very
we can trust
interesting.
those guys in Sacramento to monitor the elections that are electing all the guys in the legislature down there. I mean, Gavin Newsom, he was kind of in charge of his own recall, wasn't he?
Yeah, a little bit. I think if we can push what we did in Shasta County out across the state, you will see a purple, if not a red, California.
I believe we are red
I
because
think we're pretty much red
You
in the-
look at the counties and
Yeah.
look at the voting on the counties, and I think there has to be cheating for them to win, and that's what they're afraid of. Whether it's cheating with the machines, or whether it's cheating with stuffing the ballots, whether it's cheating that you got illegal aliens voting. I mean, they were registering people at the Democrat and telling them that you didn't have to prove you were a citizen. Nothing.
Right.
And I don't know about the other counties, but I do know, like you were saying, in Shasta, the big influx to begin with. Ever since we've been involved with the elections and what's going on, that's always been that way on election night. You have this huge thing at the beginning, and most of us learn, no, wait for it, because that's
Yeah.
nowhere near the right numbers.
But it's still manipulating.
But did
Yeah.
you see the election that I held?
that wasn't the case.
It was flat.
Interesting.
Flat all the way across. A good election should never move more than 5%.
How does anybody explain this? I guess the mainstream meathead media, which I can't stand them anymore, they report nothing unless it skews it to a point of view that they want you to hear.
Well, the initial claim was Democrats vote early, Republicans vote late. But no one took the time to actually check, because you get timestamps on when
Right,
people
yeah.
vote. So if you actually check that, you find out that is not true at all, and probably never has been.
It
But
probably never has
Why
been.
can't we just have one day voting? Everybody put their fingerprint on the ballot, and then you're done.
I can fix that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna do that?
You better record it, but I can fix your fingerprint.
What-
Oh, really?
Once I have it, I can make it anywhere I want to put it. Sorry.
Damn, Jim.
Well, that doesn't feel real warm and cozy thing either.
I'm just saying.
But I do think one day voting would be nice, not a whole month of,
Well, something.
voting.
We got to get this thing fixed, because there's too much foreign influence, whether it's the machines, it would take your pick. You got all these guys in Europe going, yeah, you guys need to not let all the aliens in because it's good for the country. It's not good for the Democrats, so they keep voting us more money and sending it to Europe, Who knew? So I don't know. We're just about out of time. You got
We
anything
are.
you want to talk about? We want to have you back, obviously, and talk about other subjects. I don't know, like maybe how you can. I don't know sure what I can say at this point. So
Have to be very, very careful now.
Yes.
yeah, because they're watching us. We've got secret.
But we
private
do want to
eyes.
say, and I think I could say, is if anybody's interested in what he's doing down at the county clerk, ROV office, however you want to put that, he is always saying, come on down. He'll give you a tour. You know, everybody's welcome. It
Buy me
doesn't
lunch.
matter.
You buy lunch.
I'll let him buy maybe lunch.
Okay.
You don't know what he likes to eat.
Exactly.
You
lot.
be very, very careful when you say that.
So, have you got anything you want to add to this, Clint? You know, before we have to go. Obviously, we're running out of time. So,
Well, in order to make it faster, I need 100 extra help people to come in on election night and help me close up those elections. So come down,
how do
sign
they get
up with personnel.
Where do they get signed up at?
Personnel office.
Just go to the personnel office down at the ROV.
right
And get an application.
And
An
you guys
application?
are you guys still in the same building down in the mall, or?
in the mall. No, we're over at 1450 Court Street.
Oh,
They're in the basement.
the basement at Court Street.
Yes, that's
Yes.
where you want to come and do
Okay,
that.
yeah,
In
because
the
I
basement.
haven't been down there since the
Yeah,
last
I have.
election.
The
so-
actual office is 1643 Market, but nobody's ever there. So
Okay.
only during elections.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that'll about wrap it up.
Yeah.
We're
Thanks for coming in and
appreciate
spending
it.
your lunchtime with us. So we appreciate it.
yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
You
he's-
bet.
We could drag it out a little farther and ruin your lunch.
I don't usually eat lunch.
Never mind. All right. Well, we'll see you on the next one.
All
We'll
right.
get you back in here and we'll go over some other stuff. Government is not reason. It is not eloquence. It is force, and force like fire is a dangerous servant and a fearful master.
Until next time.
Thanks a lot, Clint.
Thanks.